Testing, 1, 2, testing. Testing. All right. We're sounding good. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another video. Doing a recap of round 25 and taking a look at round 26. So, as usual, let's go through, the plan. Hey, Mr. Pants, what's up? How's it going? Welcome to the video this week. So, as usual, we'll do a prior round recap, go through some league shoutouts for the official MLS Fantasy Picks leagues. We'll do some fantasy takeaways, key considerations for next round, locks for the week, clean sheet hunting, the final third, clearance rack, the armband, and the weekly poll. All right, so hopping into things with the recap of the last round. So I thought I had a pretty good round. I ended with 111 points. So I had a week rank of 241, and my overall rank went back up to 133. So I'm back and forth between like the 130s and the 150s. Just got to keep those week ranks pretty strong. So my total score at 2,451. So let's take a look at the squad. See, I did the auto-roo, same as last time. Navarro let me down with the 2. But I'll take a 9 from McGlynn. Mihailovic, he'll take a 6 from your bench. So not too disappointed here. I think the main disappointment for me was the player with the lowest points on the field for me, besides Fry, was my captain. So I could have captained anyone else, basically, besides Dreyer, and I would have had a much better score. Either way, I was probably between Evander and Dreyer. Didn't think Mukhtar would put up 19 last week, but I still love to see it. For Seattle, I pivoted to Kosa Rienzi because he was that attacking defender. I think he was playing like the attacking mid, which looked pretty good. And luckily, he got me a goal. Otherwise, he would have had 1 point. So I'll take that. McVeigh, I think, had the clean sheet. Wagner absolutely destroyed. Goal, clean sheet, bonus points. Love to see that. Philly domination of the Fire. And then Son. He's looking great. 15 points up top. And then Brian White on PKs and getting those bonus points as well. So very happy with the round last week. So let's take a hop over to our MLS Fantasy Picks leagues. Top of the table here in our open league. So Verk's still sitting nicely in first place at 117. But yeah, look at these scores. 127, another 117. Very strong from everyone here at the top of the table. So well done there. And looking at our head-to-head league, I did check the rules of the league, and it's the top 8 teams that make it into the playoffs for the end of the year. So I'm currently sitting in 7th, so happy to see that, though it is very tight. So everyone down here could basically make it into that top 8 still. It's anyone's league still. I don't know what week it kicks off, but yeah, once playoffs do begin, it'll be the top 8 managers. That'll make the playoffs for our dead leagues. Keep an eye on that. So I'll do some fantasy takeaways from last round, just 3. I'm definitely going to say Son is definitely nerfing Buanga. He got, I did not realize he had 20 key passes. Key plays, whatever we call it. 5 points there, 3 crosses, 8 shots on goal. So yeah, he is nerfing Buanga. So definitely keep an eye on Son. Love to see that. Not great for Buanga, but still good for us fantasy managers. Also, eyes on Musovski. I know we've been calling him out the past few weeks as a good bargain forward, but he's actually producing. He got a hat trick against Sporting, so if he is starting, he's definitely worth a shot. I'm still going to say on your bench just because he's so new, but got to keep an eye on Musovski. And then just overall, got to keep an eye on rotation. So you could have taken advantage of that Orlando game. They were not starting their starters, resting for Leagues Cup. So yeah, Mukhtar crushing it, Surge crushing it. If there is rotation due to tournaments, keep an eye on those teams playing those other teams that have tournaments going on in case they are rotating. So even beyond looking at like rotating a player due to their own tournaments, try to look at those teams that are playing in tournaments in case the other team might have an advantage. Like Hani and all the starters were playing more of the backups for Orlando, which might have resulted in that 5-1 win. So keep an eye out on that. Okay, so key considerations for next round. So Leagues Cup is this Wednesday. So that's Orlando, Seattle, Miami, and the Galaxy. So they won't be playing in this fantasy game week. Keep that in mind. Most of the games are this Saturday, and it's very interesting. A lot of 7:30s and 8:30s. So not a lot of switcheroo options except this Sunday game, very late Sunday game, at least for us on the East Coast, with LAFC versus San Diego. So not a lot of options there. The other teams not playing on bye would be Chicago, Dallas, RSL, and Vancouver. So just make sure you're not picking those players this week. And as always, check your player availability reports and discipline. Okay, moving on to the locks for the week. So looking at defense for me, after that performance last week, I've been doing the auto ruse probably for the past month or so. Basically getting those attacking defenders and then scrubbing two of them. And I do want to keep calling out Wagner. So Wagner is a lock for me this week, though he is away at Cincinnati. I'm expecting Cincinnati to score, obviously. We've got Rick in. But Wagner's just so much of a threat on the attack. And Cincinnati's defense isn't great. I've been a fan of Wagner recently. And then when it comes to middies this week, Mukhtar is a lock for me. They're at home against Atlanta. Don't know if I need to say anything else. Atlanta has not been great this year. Nashville is buzzing off of that 5-1 victory. Mukhtar put up some crazy points. So Mukhtar is a lock. And then final lock for me this week is going to be Mr. Son from LAFC. Crushing it ever since he came into the league. Already, rising in price. 15 points last week. Good home matchup against San Diego. Son's a lock for me this week. So moving on into clean sheet hunting. So some of the defenders and goalkeepers that I'm looking at this week. So in terms of matchups, there's not a whole lot. For defense, I like NYC. They're playing DC, who have not looked great from an attacking standpoint. So guys like Martins, if you want that center back or center back type role. But I'm more of a fan of Gray as he's on the outside. And can send some crosses in for New York City. Also, as I just called out for Nashville, I like Nahar. He's also that attacking-minded defender. And then Minnesota. These are the defenses that I'm looking at, like Romero, Markanic. I guess he fell off in terms of a goal-scoring standpoint. Boxall, all those guys, I think all good looks this week for defense. And in terms of keeperoo, you could check maybe the first half for these games before you go into 8:30s. But I'm probably just going to do, let's see. I think Nashville I'm going to load up on defense, midfield, and forward. So I'm not going to use a keeper slot there. So I think I'm going to do a St. Clair to a Lloris. So Lloris would be on the field for me. And then I'd have St. Clair on the bench. Just see if Minnesota pulls off the clean sheet against Portland. And then pivot over to Lloris. So that's what I'm liking from a defensive standpoint. I'd even call out Mr. Sealy from Montreal, as they are playing Toronto, so I'm expecting goals, but he's still doing well from, an attacking standpoint. A goal here. So when he doesn't score, kind of a dud, but when he does, he gets you some good points. So I like Sealy attacking upside against Toronto, but I'm not really expecting a clean sheet here. All right, so moving on to the final third, so attacking players that I'm liking this week. So as I said, Mr. Mukhtar from Nashville, definitely a lock for me this week. And pains me to say it, but Evander as well, playing my Philadelphia Union, but it's Evander. he got 7 points last week, even without a goal contribution. I'm still a fan of Mihailovic as well, even though he only got a 6 last week. Still no goal contributions, and they're playing Montreal, so I like that. Maybe not a fan favorite as well, but I'm still on Mr. Carles Heel. I don't think he had a great score last week with only a 2. He could be a bench play. They're playing Charlotte. I still have a lot of faith in Heel. Another fun pick for me this week, Maxi Morales, mainly because they're playing DC. A lot of these games are just going to be playing, matchups because, a lot of teams are on bye, and we're just having some fun with these picks here. So Morales, a couple assists here and there, so I like that. I mean, when he doesn't do well. So he's worth at least a good bench play. So I like Morales on the bench. And then, of course, Jack McGlynn, another shout out. So there's a good amount of midfielders that I like this week. Just not the usual names that I'd be taking a look at. McGlynn, and then can't forget about Dreyer, though he did break my heart last week with a 5, excuse me. But yeah, not a great captain pick for me last week. And then another fun pick, someone who I don't think I've ever mentioned, Azuni. Got a 12 last week, Mr. Goal and Assist. Bit of a hit or miss here, as you can see. 2, 1, 7, 11. So he could break. He could do well. But they are playing San Jose, so I feel like there's some good options or good chances for him there to get some solid points. So if you want to take a flyer, go for Azuni. And then for forwards, as I said, I do like Heung-min Son from LAFC. Of course, lock for me this week. And surprisingly, I think I've been sleeping on Martinez. I think he burned me last time I picked him. Though his recent form is looking solid. Goal, a hattie. Didn't realize he had a hat trick. 4, 9, 4. So yeah, that's a good matchup against DC United. Martinez, I guess he's a lock for me. But yeah, he's on my squad for sure. And then, who else do I like? As I said, Surge, I'll probably be tripling up Nashville. And some other fun shouts. You got Arango, a solid 8 last week. And then as well, someone I've been calling out a lot recently is Prince Owusu. 10 points. He got the goal, assist the week before. Some key pass bonus points, shots, things like that. So yeah, it's a fun matchup against Toronto. I feel like Owusu could be a good shout this week up top if you're not going for the big names. And I know I said I'd chat clearance rack, though this is the last bit of the season. So if you don't have the money, you're probably joining late. And if so, welcome to MLS Fantasy. But yeah, if you do have any questions or if you're strapped for budget, I am definitely not, since I'm almost at 200 million. Just comment in the chat or whatever, comments below on YouTube. Let me know and I'll recommend some cheap players for you. So rounding things out here for the armband, so captains that I like this week. Hani Mukhtar, for sure, especially with that performance from last week. I also think Son deserves a shout out after that 15-point performance. And don't want to say it, but Evander. I mean, Evander has got such a good floor, and they're playing Philly, who we don't have all our defensive players in, our starters in, and they're at home. So Evander's also a good look for captain this week. Okay, so that finishes things out. Let's hop over to the weekly poll this week. So this week I've got who scores more points in MLS Fantasy Round 26. Martinez, who I did say was in some solid form recently, or Son from LAFC. So 2 home matchups, 2 guys similarly priced. Son has the lead right now. I don't know if he's got my vote. They do have a tougher San Diego versus DC, and Martinez could pop off. My vote probably goes Martinez, but we'll see where things finish. All right. Thanks, everyone, for watching today. That wraps up my round 26 video, and I will shortly, I guess, Friday, before games start on the Saturday. So, yeah. All right, everyone. Have a good one, and good luck.